It's episode number 28 of Move by Move series, where I play 10-minute rapid games, explain you my thinking process, and of course we're trying to increase our rating. In the last episode we finally reached 2300 rating. I think it's a great milestone and we just want to continue pushing forward, so let's search for our opponent for today's video. We're playing against Freemason 77 with white pieces. Let's go for e4. 2282, he goes c6, and we're going for Caro-Kann, apparently 2 knights attack. So quite common setup these days. There are a couple of ideas for black as well. They might go knight f6. There is also d takes e4, which is very simple, and there is also, yeah, he goes for d takes e4, knight f6, and we are going for a little trick here. We go queen e2, and now if they go knight d7, looks like a simple development move, we go knight d6 checkmate. He goes knight e4, queen f4, and now usually most of the time people go for queen d5, which is a very important line, and you should be ready for it. So black are trying to trade queens, we would go queen f4, then there is queen f5, then we go queen f3, queen f6, and getting to the endgame. That's why he plays knight d7, he wants to keep pressure on the board, and the main move is bishop c4, and after knight f6, we're saying, oh no, my queen, and go knight e5, attacking the pawn on f7, and if this knight takes, we go bishop f7, checkmate. And one of the moves is e6, knight f6 is of course the main one, and we go for knight e5. After e6, I will probably go for castle, and after knight f6, I can bring my queen back, and we just continue our development in a simple way. Yeah, he goes e6, now it's time for castle, and I'm waiting for knight f6, and we're just going for queen e2, retreating our queen back. There are a couple of options right now for black as well. Bishop e7, we go b3, bishop b2, and knight e5 and f4 as well. Bishop d3, putting our bishop on a very active square, knight goes to e5, and the idea is of course to play f4. One of the moves here is to play a6, so that after f4 there is c5 possible, and not letting me go to f3 square, but I think right now it's no longer possible because he went for knight d5, and my plan would be to go rook f3 on next move, and potentially I want to go for this sacrifice, going rook h3, queen h5. I'm actually wondering if it works right now. I don't think so. Let's play bishop e4. Now my bishop is protected. If f5 is going to happen, we'll just get our bishop back to d3 square, and if takes, we have a huge pressure on e6 pawn, which will be a huge weakness because pawns cannot move backwards. Even though, let's say after f5, bishop d3 takes, the pawn really needs to be on f7, but it would be on f5, and we'll have beautiful e5, c5 squares. So he has different, yeah, he goes this way. Now I'm seriously thinking of even going for bishop f3. The problem with bishop f3 is that I lose my pawn on c2 square, but still, there is knight c6 move, and if, let's say, takes, I go queen e6, check, queen c6, and we're threatening this rook. If rook goes, yeah, rook c8 is slightly annoying, so what I'm calculating is bishop f3, knight c2, knight c6, bishop c6, queen e6, check. So I'm just wondering if I maybe can do bishop c6 first, rook c8. Tough to say. Bishop d3, I don't like that. Basically he will go for some c5 in the near future. Maybe bishop d3 is something that I basically need to play, and after takes, we'll threaten this pawn. And the only thing I like about my position right now is that I have c5 e5 squares. This bishop is not really in the game yet, and I'm putting a lot of pressure on e6 as well. And after, let's say, bishop f6, I can simply take, and I believe c5 square, I can even play b4 and then place my yeah, that's a very active move, but I go rook e1, attacking this pawn on e6. Yeah, he wanted to go c5, but now I'll just take on e6 and I'll enjoy a free pawn. One of the options here to consider is of course going for queen trade after queen f5, threatening checkmate and threatening this queen. But the question is, can he protect the pawn on e6? Because that's a good question. let's go king h1. I don't really need to take this bishop, even though maybe I should have, and then played simple d4 and then took on e6, but I don't think it will be necessary. I'm seriously considering this c4 idea, because after c4 takes, he can't even take because I go rook c1 and I take on c5. The only option I'm worried about is something like queen d6, but this might be so annoying. So if I play c4, let's say takes, and he goes queen d6, what are the ideas I might have? Knight c5, and then bishop e5. Bishop e5 momentarily might be an idea, but bishop goes to b6 and I simply don't have enough options. If knight c5, queen c5, and I go c4 is something that I really want to play. He can't even go... He can't go e5 at any point, so he's kind of tight. But c4, the only thing I'm worried about c4 is that I'm seriously weakening this d2 pawn, so it might become a problem. I wish I could take some material from the board from him, but it doesn't look like an option right now. Queen h5, queen g5 looks like an interesting option, but after queen h5, I'm not sure if I'll be able to take any material. But after takes and something along d3, his bishop will be eventually activated, so it's not the option either. And I'm spending a lot of time, which maybe I shouldn't do, but maybe I have to. Maybe c4 is something that I should play, because takes, queen d6 takes, and I might go for d4 and then c5 blocking his bishop. Maybe I'll go for something else along, let's say, queen d6, bishop e5, queen e7, and then go for knight c5, and then only go for d4. That way my bishop on e5 is extremely active, blocks b8. Yes, that's probably what I'm going to do. Otherwise, it's it's just extremely tough to play. One of the options here might be, let's say he goes queen d6. I think it's a terrible move, because after bishop e5, queen e7 takes, d4, I'll play c5, and this bishop on b7 is just like a pawn. And my next couple of moves will just continue pressing the dark squares on the king side. Extremely complicated position, at least it should be. Queen cannot go to e4, because I just take on c5. B takes c4, b takes c4, queen c4, I go rook c1, and I take the bishop, so it's not the case as well. Also takes, I have queen e5. It actually wins a lot easier, just because I have double attack. Yeah, he goes queen d6, I go bishop e5. And after queen e7, I seriously have to think of what I can do. I can actually go for bishop g7. You know why? Because I simply win a pawn. Bishop g7, queen g7, knight c5. And if takes with the king, I go queen e5 check and then take on c5. Let's go bishop g7. That's a good tactic. And we go queen e5 afterwards and take the bishop on c5. Yeah, I found a great resource. I didn't even see it at first, but you know, I just felt like I should have something. Even knight c5 and d4, I should have a huge advantage, in my opinion. But right now, if queen g7, knight c5, this bishop is terrible. I go d4 or queen f5 on the very next move, and should have a strong advantage. As long as he doesn't take the b file under his control, it should be an extremely tough position to play on and to be alive. So let's say queen g7, knight c5, queen d4. Or he goes this way, queen goes to e5 check, and I take this knight on c5 on the very next move. Should be extremely tough to play here. I don't even trade queens off the board, because I believe e6 pawn is a huge weakness, and I might put a lot of pressure on it. Knight c5, rook goes to e3. It is very tough to play on. Let's see what he's going to do. I think the resignation should be followed pretty shortly. I have a lot of resources here, and it becomes extremely tough for black to play. I'm not sure if you saw it. I didn't see it at first as well, but c4, as it turns out, it looks winning. But I had bishop g7. Yeah, I first have to go to get king f7. Oh my goodness. So now it makes sense to take here, actually, because after knight c5, queen c5 takes, bishop goes to c8, and now knight comes back. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because now I want to go knight e5. And if takes, this endgame should be extremely tough to hold. Since bishop 8, I go knight d3 back, and then if rook b8, I go knight e5, and then rook b1. I also have to take care of this bishop, just so it doesn't get out, but extra pawn should be a huge advantage here. As long as this bishop is not activated by playing c5, I should be winning. Even if it does being activated, it's still extremely tough to create a lot of counterplay. Let's go this way. Oh, no, no, no. No, no, no. So the only problem I see right now is maybe I should go take and go something along rook b1 to attack this one, because then it becomes annoying. He can't take right now, and if bishop a6 I take an exchange by playing knight c6. So bishop a8 might be the move. Yes, and I simply go for d3, protecting everything. c5 now is the option, unfortunately. But maybe I can simply go rook b5. Rook d4. Oh my goodness, that's getting exciting. At the same time, I'm slightly worried. Maybe g3. I shouldn't be worried here, honestly. He has no counterplay at all. My knight on e5 is an absolute monster. Even if he goes rook j8, I might simply go g3 and king f2. Just not to blunder something. As long as my king gets to e3, my knight stays on e5, it should be over. This bishop is locked. Even if it's been activated, still it's watching towards emptiness. I'm up a minute on the clock. This should result in my win. This will be very interesting to analyze, but I think I played almost a perfect game. Let's go g3. Now if takes, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all. My next move might be rook b3, then go for rook b1, and we're simply trying to trade one pair of rooks, maybe go for something else. Oh, goes king f6. So how about going for h4 right now? Because I'm just wondering what can happen. I don't think he can put enough pressure on any of my pieces. Rook j8. Okay, he might go for it, but still, no resources whatsoever. My rook goes to b3, as I said, rook goes to b1, and we're trying to trade pieces off the board. And I don't think he'll have enough attack, because he has to spend a lot of time rerouting his rooks, while I'm not doing anything. Rook g7, rook goes to b8, and now bishop is trapped. Wait a minute. Bishop b7, but I go rook b1, and you know what's the problem about this position? Yeah, he kind of gets away with it, but still very tough, because I go rook b3 and I'm trying to go rook a3, which is extremely dangerous for black pieces. Now, honestly, he should resign. He doesn't do it right now, but it should be a loss. I'm not taking on c6. I'm threatening to take here right now, but I don't even threaten to take on c6. I'm threatening rook a3. And the problem is that he should play rook b7, and I just take and go rook a7, and I'm threatening checkmate on f7. Goes this way. Oh, so now he's saying that he will protect by playing rook d6. Interesting idea. But he'll be tied to it forever. I might just go rook h8 right now and try not take the pawn on h5. Don't even have to take anything, just going for the pawns. For the second pawn, then rook h6, and trying to press e6 as well. And then a couple of pawns, couple of extra pawns should be enough to win the game. And as I said, it's extremely tough to defend it, almost impossible. This bishop is terrible. Again, it's resignation. 23-11. Let's go. Let's get to the analysis. Let's quickly analyze the game. I think we had a couple of interesting moments. So I opened up, you see a position in the right corner from the opening. Let's get to it on the board on chess.com. Knight c3 d5, knight f3 takes. Again, all opening moves, knight e4, queen f4, knight d7, bishop c4. And what I discussed during the game is that knight f6 is actually the main move, and after knight e5, e6, we pretty much get the same position, but our knight is already on e5, and there are a couple of options for black. One of them is bishop d6, then they go b3, if queen c7, I go bishop b2, supporting the knight. Then go, let's say, go castle, castle, and after b5, bishop d3, bishop b7, I go f4, and I have a lot of interesting ideas, and many title players are actually making mistakes here. They go a6, I go rook f3, and now they don't know what to do. They go something along c5 lines, and after rook h3, it's very hard to play on because the pawn is under attack. Some go knight d5, but it's immediately losing due to bishop h7. So there are a couple of tricks, and it's very hard to stay alive. We didn't see it on the board. We saw bishop c4, e6, and after castle, knight f6, queen e2, bishop e7, I played some kind of novelty. According to computer, it's actually one of the best moves, but d4 is the main move. I just wanted to go for kind of the same lines I just showed you. So b3, bishop b2, knight e5, f4 makes a lot of sense. And I don't see a lot of people playing this line, even though it's a good plan for white pieces. And as it turned out in the game, black did some mistakes and they ended up losing. So you will see a game on in the right corner right now between Grandmaster Pichot Alan in one of the Title Tuesday events. He was playing against 2170 opponent with black pieces. He played d4, castle, c3, protecting the pawn, knight d5, knight f5, bishop f6, bishop d2, queen c7, rook e1, b6, rook d1, bishop b7, queen h5, c5, knight g4, attacking the bishop, threatening bishop d5, knight f6, and after bishop e7 takes queen c5, bishop goes to d3, attacking h7. Now knight f6 is not possible due to knight f6, bishop f6, queen h7 checkmate, so black went for g6, and after queen f5, black decided to offer a queen trade, but it was too late because after knight h6, the queen blocks every dark square on e5, h8 diagonal. Knight h6 is a checkmate. But in my game I played b3, which is not a bad plan. Castle, bishop b2, b5. Again, typical idea for black pieces. They go for it in the specific opening line, bishop b7, knight e5, and once I played f4, I was like, I should be in a very good situation. He went for knight b4, and I was thinking of bishop h7, but I just didn't see a follow-up. Maybe I should have calculated more deeply. Apparently, computer gives almost a winning advantage to white pieces. Now, if f6 is being played, rook h3, king g8, and knight g6 is happening on the board, queen h5 is coming the next move, because rook f7, rook h8 obviously doesn't work. If rook e8, queen e6 is a checkmate, so it's unfortunately very hard to play queen h5. And again, king cannot go to f7 due to knight f5. Computer says queen e8, and after rook e1, white just have a crushing attack. Knight c2, queen h7, king f7, knight f8, and let's say take on e1, queen g6, king f8, rook h8 is a checkmate, and if king goes to j8, there is rook h8, king h8, queen h7 checkmate. But bishop e4, I thought it might be not the worst move, and I discussed bishop f3 for a while. Apparently it's one of the best moves, and after knight c2, I was honestly calculating knight c6. Is it any good? It's actually around equal. So king c6 is not an option, but bishop c6, rook c8, rook ac1. Yeah, equal position. One of the ideas that after knight c2, white actually go rook ac1, knight d4. Now I have to take, and there is a lot of pressure on c6 pawn. But again, e6, c6, we potentially have an opposite color bishop endgame, which I really wanted to avoid in this middle game. So I went for bishop e4, bishop d3. And despite me being with knight and bishop against two bishops, I pointed out during the game that bishop on b7 is terrible and I should have some advantage. He goes queen d5, rook a e1, attacking the pawn on e6. He has to protect it. He goes bishop c5. And apparently knight c5 was the best option, but to me it was a bit tough to say why it is considered best. Right now computer just goes queen d3, protecting this pawn, and just maybe rook e5 in the future, queen g3. I'm trying to press the pawn on g7. King h1. I still kind of felt that king h1 is not that bad, and I was right because I have a huge advantage. And after rook a e8, apparently c4 is the best move. I calculated a couple of moves. I was lucky enough to play c4 on the board, but c4 only works because I have bishop g7 in the end, which I didn't even initially see, but I was lucky enough to spot it, because after c4, b takes c4, b takes c4, queen goes to d6, and after bishop e5, again, this queen needs to protect this bishop on c5, queen e7, bishop g7, and no matter what black do, I'm now winning. Of course, rook f7 is not a choice because I just go bishop a1 or bishop c3 back. There is no point in doing that. So king g7 was played. Queen g7 once again, I'll repeat it. Knight c5, this bishop is terrible. If bishop goes to c8 back, I might go queen f5 for an endgame which occurred in the game, or I might go knight d3 and place my knight to e5, potentially playing c5 d4 just to lock this bishop down. I might have a weakness on d4, but I believe this bishop is just terrible. Yeah, maybe not. The way I set it up, playing knight to5, c4, d3, I think I actually decreased the effectivity of black's bishop. After all, king g7, queen f5, and I felt like this should be winning. Knight c5 was apparently slightly better, but I felt like if I go to the endgame, it should be an easy win. So queen f2 was best. I knew that I shouldn't maybe have traded, but it felt like completely winning no matter what I do. d3, rook d4, king g1. Yeah, +4 position. It is complete chaos for black pieces. I just move my pieces back and forth, take the pawn on h5 as well, and finally he resigned. Very solid game. My rating is 23-11. We continue hustling, we continue increasing our rating. It's getting better and better with every episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments any feedback you might have. I'll see you in the next one. In episode, what will be? It will be episode number 29 next one. So have fun. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.